The prince consort knelt before me, begging for a concubine title for his white moonlight. Your Highness, Shriur and I truly love each other. Please grant us this. I promise I'll treat you well from now on. He thought I loved him to the bone, that I couldn't live without him, so he dared to be this brazen. I looked at him and slowly nodded. All right, I'll allow it. He was overjoyed, holding his white moonlight's hand and thanking me profusely. The next day, he was stunned when he saw the imperial edict my father issued for him. Inside Changle Palace, incense smoke curled upward. I sat in the main seat, holding a cup of warm tea in my hands. The steam from the tea blurred my vision. It also blurred the faces of the man and woman kneeling before me, my prince consort Shen Wenye and the woman beside him. Liu Ruxie Shen Wenye wore splendid brocade robes. Should have been a figure as refined as orchids and jade trees. At this moment, however, for another woman, he bent his knees before me, his lawful wife, the most noble elder princess Zhao Ningyue of the great Xia dynasty. Liu Ruxie beside him, dressed in plain white, cried like pear blossoms in the rain, evoking pity in anyone who saw her. She truly was beautiful, beautiful in her purity, beautiful in her fragility, like a white lotus swaying in the wind. Shen Wenyi once told me that the first time he saw her, he thought she was a banished immortal descended to earth, untainted by worldly dust, and I, Zhao Ningyue, am the most dazzling pearl of the imperial family yet. In his eyes, I was also a mortal vulgarized beyond redemption by power and wealth. The great hall was terrifyingly silent. Only Liu Ruxie's suppressed sobbing and Shen Wenyi's heavy breathing could be heard. My personal maid Qingyuan stood behind me, trembling with rage. Her clenched fists showed bulging veins. The palace servants standing outside the hall all kept their heads down, eyes on nose. Nose on heart, not daring to make a sound. But I knew their ears were perked up, wanting to hear how I, the elder princess, would handle this royal scandal before me. Shen Wenye finally spoke. His voice was as gentle as always, yet carried a hint of unquestionable pleading. Your Highness. He called out to me, not calling my name, Ningyue, but the noble yet distant Your Highness. For 3 years he had always been like this. Shriur and I truly love each other. Please grant us your blessing. He raised his head, looking at me with burning eyes. Those eyes that once captivated me now brimmed with deep affection for another woman, and toward me a bit of guilt, and even more of taking things for granted. He thought I loved him to the bone, loved him so much that without him I couldn't go on living. That is why he dared to be so fearless. That is why he dared to bring his beloved and kneel before me, begging me, his lawful wife, to legitimize his love. Liu Ruxie also spoke up, her voice timid, yet every word pierced the heart. Your Highness, this concubine does not seek status, only to stay by brother Wenyi's side. As long as I can watch over him, this concubine will be content. If your Highness does not allow it, this concubine will go and die. As she spoke, she made to crash into a nearby corridor pillar. Her movements were slow, very frail, full of performative intent. Sure enough, Shen Wenyi quickly grabbed her with swift hands and eyes, holding her tightly in his embrace. He chided her with heartache. Shriur, what are you doing? Then he looked at me again, his eyes carrying a bit more reproach, as if Liu Ruxie's death-seeking behavior was caused by my cold indifference. Your Highness, Shriur has a weak body and a fierce temperament. I cannot be without her. If you fulfill our wish, I promise I will treat you well in the future. I, Shen Wenyi, swear that I will never let you down in this life. He spoke with such sincerity, as if my nodding in agreement would be a beautiful act of helping others and considering the bigger picture, as if what I was granting him was not utter humiliation but an enormous favor. I looked at Liu Ruxie trembling in his arms, then looked at his face written all over with deep affection. 3 years of marital bond like a joke. Did I love him? I loved him once, when I was 15 at the Imperial Hunting Ground. I first met this Zhongyuan, who was famous throughout the capital city. He was dressed in white as pure as snow, with an outstanding bearing. A single poem, Ode to the Moon, awakened my first love. I begged Father Emperor to let me marry down to him. I gave him the glory and wealth countless people dreamed of, and the supreme honor of being Imperial Prince Consort. I thought that hearts were made of flesh. 3 years would be enough time for him to fall in love with me. But I was wrong. His heart was made of stone. No, his heart had long been given to someone else. Given to his childhood sweetheart cousin, Liu Ruxie. I put down my teacup. The porcelain collided with the table surface, making a crisp light sound. Both Shen Wenye and Liu Rux's bodies trembled almost imperceptibly. They were afraid I'd get angry, afraid I'd use my power as a princess to separate them forever. Shen Wenye gripped Liu Rux's hand tightly, as if giving her strength and as if silently showing defiance toward me. He told me with his eyes that he would never give up Liu Ruxo, even if it meant becoming enemies with me. The elder princess, I suddenly found it laughable. All my love in this moment finally wore away to nothing. Fine, this is fine too. I looked at him and slowly nodded. A smile that could be called gentle appeared on my face. Okay, I said. This single word, okay, was light and airy, yet it was like a thunderclap, exploding in the deathly silent Chang'e Palace. Qingyuan behind me suddenly gasped. She looked at me in disbelief, her eyes full of shock and heartache. The palace servants outside the hall also raised their heads in unison. The gazes cast over were filled with astonishment, confusion, and even a bit of contempt. They probably thought that I, the elder princess, was madly in love with my consort, so in love that I could even swallow such humiliation with a smile. Shen Wenyi was also stunned. He seemed completely unprepared for me to agree so readily. He had anticipated my tears and tantrums, my anger, my hysteria. He had even prepared a bellyful of words to comfort and persuade me. But the one thing he never expected was that I would smile so calmly, so gently, as if what he was asking for wasn't a concubine status, but merely what tomorrow's weather would be like. A brief bewilderment flashed across his face. Immediately, that bewilderment was replaced by immense ecstasy. Your Highness, you agreed? He asked tentatively, his voice trembling with barely suppressed emotion. I nodded again, the smile on my lips deepening. I have granted it this time. I used Bengong. It is the posture of one who rules over all, the tone of one bestowing grace upon subjects. Not only do I permit it, Bengong will personally petition Father Emperor for an edict to grant this Miss Liu of yours the status of a noble concubine. After all, we can't let your beloved follow you without name or status suffering grievances. My word sent Shen Wenyin to complete ecstasy. He flushed red with excitement, kowtowing to me repeatedly. Thank you for your Highness's fulfillment. Thank you for your Highness's great kindness. Your Highness is magnanimous and generous. Wenyi will remember this for life. Liu Ruxia in his arms also raised her head. On that small face streaked with tears bloomed the smile of a victor. She looked at me, her eyes no longer showing the timidity and pleading from before. Instead, they were full of smugness and provocation, as if saying, see, your husband, your favor and glory, in the end were still taken by me. I couldn't be bothered with her. A woman about to be swept into the trash heap wasn't worth a second glance from me. I said to Shen Wenyi, get up. Since Bengong has permitted it, you need not kneel any longer. Take your little sister Shuir down to rest. She must have been terribly frightened. My tone was unreasonably considerate. Shen Wenye stood up with tears of gratitude, carefully helping Liu Ruxia to her feet. He softly consoled her, wiping away the tear stains on her face. That cherishing look pierced the hearts of all the servants in the hall who were loyal to me. Qing Yuan's eyes turned red. She bit her lip hard to keep herself from crying out loud. Shen Wenyi supported Liu Ruxia and turned to leave. After 2 steps, he stopped again and looked back at me. His face showed a hint of hesitation, as if he wanted to say something. Your Highness, I raised my eyes to look at him. Anything else? He opened his mouth, but in the end just shook his head. No, nothing. Thank you, Your Highness. He pulled Liu Ruxia's hand and left in quick steps. Even their retreating figures revealed an eager joy, as if my Chang'e Palace were some kind of dragon's den or tiger's lair, and staying even a moment longer made him feel suffocated. Until their figures completely disappeared outside the hall. Only then did Qingyuan finally lose control and spoke with a sobbing voice. Your Highness, how could you agree to him? He is putting your dignity on the ground and trampling it. You are of noble imperial blood. When have you ever suffered such grievance? She knelt down at my feet, tears streaming down like rain. I reached out my hand and gently patted her shoulder. Get up, my voice remained calm, revealing neither joy nor anger. This palace has not suffered any grievance. Quite the opposite, I am very happy. Qing Yuan lifted her tear-filled eyes, looking at me in confusion. Happy? Yes, very happy. I stood up and walked to the window, looking at the tall parasol tree outside. 3 years of misplaced devotion finally came to an end today. A man who doesn't love me. What is the point of keeping him around? Rather than letting him occupy the position of consort and be an eyesore, better to kick him out and be rid of him. Qingyuan seemed to half understand, but you agreed to let him take a concubine. I laughed, a somewhat cold laugh. I agreed to it because I needed a reason sufficient for Father Emperor to depose him without giving others grounds for criticism. The consort seeks to marry a concubine. The elder princess refuses out of jealousy. That is a marital dispute. The consort seeks to marry a concubine. The elder princess magnanimously agrees and reports it to the sovereign father. That becomes a matter of national law and family rules. The laws of our great Xia dynasty state it clearly. Consorts are not permitted to take concubines. He, Shen Wenyi, for the sake of a woman, dares to trample on national law. How could Father Emperor tolerate him? Qingyuan's eyes gradually lit up. She finally understood my intention. Your Highness is brilliant, she said excitedly. I turned around looking at her. Go to Cunning Palace. Tell Mother Empress that the fish has taken the bait. It is time to pull in the net. Qingyuan nodded vigorously, wiped away her tears, and left in quick steps. I sat back down in the chair and picked up the cup of tea that had already gone cold. I drank it all in one gulp. The tea was bitter, just like my 3 years of marriage. Shen Wenye, you think I love you to the bone and can't leave you. You are wrong. I, Zhao Ningyue, am the elder princess of the great Xia dynasty. My pride does not allow me to love a man who doesn't love me. Even more so, it does not allow my man to have another woman in his heart. The fulfillment you want, I'll give it to you. The price you'll have to pay. I also hope you can bear it. The next day daylight broke. Shen Wenyi stayed overnight in the study. This was the first time in 3 years he didn't return to his own bedchamber. He must have spent last night pouring out his heart to his dear sister Shuir, unable to contain his emotions. In the morning he brought Liu Ruxia to pay respects to me. The two stood side by side, both with smiles on their faces they couldn't hide. They really did look like a perfect couple. Liu Ruxia had changed into a powder pink dress and wore several delicate pearl hairpins in her hair. No longer that plain, bare-faced look from yesterday. It must have been gifts from Shen Wenyi. He has never been this attentive with me. Greetings to your highness. The two of them bowed to me in unison. Rise, I said indifferently. My gaze fell upon Liu Ruxia. Miss Liu, did you rest well last night? Liu Ruxia nodded shyly. Thanks to your highness's blessing, everything was fine. Her eyes already carried the bearing of a future mistress of the household. Shen Wenyi looked at her, his eyes full of adoration. He said to me, Your Highness, Shuir, has just entered the palace and doesn't understand many of the rules yet. If she offends you in any way, please be tolerant. No matter. I waved my hand, we'll be family from now on, no need to be so formal. My magnanimity put Shen Wenyi even more at ease. He even began to envision future life. Your Highness, rest assured, I've already discussed this with Shuir. In the future, she will treat you like her own older sister, with respect and devotion. The three of us will surely live together harmoniously. Hearing these words, I almost laughed out loud. Live together harmoniously. Shen Wenyi, has your brain been stupefied by all those sage books? Just then, a series of urgent footsteps came from outside the hall. A chief eunuch, leading a squad of imperial guards, walked in with a stern expression. Leading them was Chief Steward Lai, Father Emperor's most capable man. Seeing this formation, Shen Wenyi was slightly startled. He stepped forward and asked with cupped hands, Chief Steward Lai, what is this about? Chief Steward Lai did not look at him, but walked straight to the center of the hall and unrolled a bright yellow imperial edict in his hand. His shrill voice echoed throughout Changle Palace. The imperial edict has arrived, Shen Wenyi, and Liu Ruxia's faces instantly changed. They, along with me and all the palace servants in the hall, knelt down together to receive the edict. By the mandate of heaven, the emperor decrees. The prince consort Shen Wenyi, as a member of the imperial family, has failed to share the nation's burdens, disrespected his lawful wife, and lacks moral character. Furthermore, he disregarded the law and attempted to take a concubine, disgracing the imperial family's reputation, an unforgivable crime. Every word from Eunuch Li was like a heavy hammer, pounding mercilessly on Shen Wenyi's heart. His body began to tremble uncontrollably. All color drained from his face. I had considered leniency given his past achievements. However, Elder Princess Zhao Ningyue petitioned the ancestral temple, stating that such behavior must not be allowed to continue. To uphold the law and maintain family discipline, I have decided to deal with this according to the law. Effective immediately, Shen Wenyi is stripped of his title as prince consort and removed from the imperial genealogy. He is demoted to commoner status and shall never be employed again. So decreed, the imperial edict was finished. Inside Changel Palace there was deathly silence. Shen Wenyi collapsed to the ground, his face ashen, his lips trembled as he muttered, "Number! Impossible! Your Highness clearly promised." He suddenly looked up at me, his eyes filled with bloodshot veins and madness. "Zhao Ningyue, it is you. You ruined me." He roared like a cornered beast. 2 imperial guards immediately stepped forward and pressed him firmly to the ground. Director Li looked at him coldly, as if looking at a dead man. "Shen Wenjie, His Majesty has issued an imperial edict commanding you to leave the palace immediately without delay. Men, take him away." The imperial guards received the order and dragged the still frantically Shen Wenyi outside. He continued to roar in unwillingness. "Zhao Ningyue, how cruel your heart is. I truly loved you for 3 years. Why must you treat me like this? I did nothing wrong, I just fell in love with someone. What is my crime?" His voice grew fainter and fainter until it completely disappeared. In the great hall, only Lu Ruxia remained kneeling on the ground, trembling like a sieve. She probably never imagined that her dream of rising to the heavens in one step would shatter so quickly and so thoroughly. Director Li's gaze fell upon her. "Miss Liu, His Majesty has another imperial edict." Lu Ruxia trembled violently, raised her head, her eyes full of fear. Director Li once again unfurled an imperial edict. The edict reads, "Lu Ruxia of the Liu clan, cousin of the criminal Shen Wenyi, is of improper character, using seductive wiles to bewitch her lord, and should be severely punished. However, General Xiao Lai, defender of the northern border, has rendered meritorious service guarding the frontier, and at the age of 30 still has no wife. I am moved by his loyalty and bravery. I hereby bestow Lu Ruxia upon Xiao Lai in marriage as his wife. Choose an auspicious date for the wedding and depart immediately. There must be no delay." By imperial decree, Lu Ruxia's eyes widened instantly. General Xiao Lai, the pacifier of the north, that one-eyed general who had one eye injured by barbarians on the battlefield and half his face disfigured, that king of hell who was said to have a violent temperament and killed people like flies. Father Emperor actually wants to marry her off to such a man. No, she doesn't want this. Lu Ruxia screamed in terror, threw herself at my feet, and clutched my skirt desperately. Your Highness, save me. I don't want to marry that one-eyed dragon. I don't want to go to the borderlands. I beg you. Please speak to His Majesty and spare me." I looked down at this woman at my feet, crying her eyes out. She clutched my skirt with surprising strength, as if I were her only driftwood while drowning, laughable. When she stood before me arm in arm with Shen Wenyi, showing off so arrogantly. Did she ever imagine this day would come? "Your Highness, you can't do this to me. What did I do wrong? I just fell in love with someone. Brother Wenyi and I truly love each other. We did nothing wrong." She is still repeating this ridiculous rhetoric. True love. Is this her love? Stealing someone else's husband and destroying someone else's family. My patience completely ran out at this moment. I raised my foot and lightly lifted her chin with the tip of my shoe. The gesture was contemptuous and full of humiliation. "Lu Ruxia," I looked down at her from above. "Do you think that I arranged your marriage to Xiao Lai to punish you?" A glimmer of hope flashed in Lu Ruxia's eyes. She thought I had softened. "Your Highness, you are wrong," I coldly interrupted her. "Punish you? You are not worthy of that. You are merely a reward I am using to appease a meritorious subject." Lu Ruxia froze. "A reward. That is right. A reward." I released my foot, letting her face drop heavily back onto the cold floor. General Xiao Lai, defender of the north, has guarded the northern frontier for my great Xia for 10 years. He has 27 scars on his body, each one earned protecting our dynasty's vast territory. He lost an eye and half his face, but in exchange brought 10 years of peace to the northern frontier. Both Father Emperor and I feel we owe him a debt. A general with such illustrious military achievements, over 30 years old, yet without even someone by his side to care for him. If word of this got out, wouldn't it make our imperial family seem callous and ungrateful? I walked in front of her and crouched down, staring directly into her eyes filled with terror. So I thought of you. Didn't you pride yourself on being pure and beautiful, evoking pity in all who see you? Using your beauty to comfort a hero who has served the country loyally is the greatest honor of your life. As for the rumors about his violent temperament and killing people like flies, I let out a light laugh. On the battlefield, showing mercy to the enemy is cruelty to oneself. How can a general who can't even finish off his enemies protect the country? Lu Ruksho, you should feel fortunate. If it weren't for the fact that you still have some looks, do you think you'd be going to become a general's wife right now? Right now, you should be on your way to the military camp to become a camp prostitute. Each of my words was like a knife stabbing viciously into Lu Ruksho's heart. She completely broke down, collapsed on the ground without even the strength to cry, just shaking her head in despair. Number. No, Director Lai stepped forward at the right moment, giving a look to the Imperial Guards behind him. Two tall palace maids immediately came forward, supporting Lu Ruksho from left and right. Please, General Shao's wedding procession is already waiting outside the palace. If you depart now and ride at full speed, you'll reach the northern frontier in half a month. Director Li's voice carried not a hint of emotion. Lu Ruksho was dragged outward. She finally snapped back to her senses and began to struggle frantically. I won't marry, I'd rather die than marry. Zhao Ningyue, you venomous woman, may you die a horrible death. Her cursing voice was sharp and piercing. I turned a deaf ear. I simply picked up the teacup on the table and blew on it leisurely, until her voice completely disappeared outside the hall. Changle Palace returned to tranquility once more. Eunuch Li bowed to me respectfully. Your Highness, this servant has already handled everything according to your and Her Majesty's instructions. Thank you for your hard work, Eunuch Li. I nodded. Go back and send my regards to Mother Empress. Tell her that everything is well with Ningyue here, and she need not worry. This servant obeys your decree. Eunuch Li bowed and withdrew. In the vast palace hall, only Qingyan and I remained. Qingyan stepped forward and replaced my tea with a fresh hot cup. Your Highness, what do you think will happen to that Lu Ruksho when she reaches the northern frontier? She asked with some curiosity. I took a sip of tea. The tea's fragrance wafted up. I don't know. I only know that for the rest of her life, she can never return to the capital city. Whether her fate is good or bad depends entirely on herself. It also depends on what kind of person General Shao Lai really is. I looked out the window, my gaze distant. Shen Wenyi, Lu Ruksho, these two people who ruined 3 years of my youth have finally disappeared completely from my world, and my life has only just begun. I am literally dying of laughter. This is what true. You respect me a foot, I return you a yard looks like. Shen Wenyi and Lu Ruksho thought the female lead would cry, make a scene, threaten suicide, but instead she pulled a Tai Chi move and sent them both down a dead end. What is the best part? The female lead agreed on the surface, but actually dug a huge pit for them to jump into themselves. The law forbids a prince consort from taking concubines. This is national law, and Shen Wenyi, the top scholar, didn't even know this. I can only say love makes people stupid, and Lu Ruksho, thinking she was the white moonlight, ended up becoming a bestowed gift, directly packaged and exiled to the frontier. I give this move full marks. The female lead's scheming and methods are simply a dimensional strike, but seriously, for an ancient woman to pull this off is really incredible. Gotta give the female lead a thumbs up. The matter of Shen Wenyi and Lu Ruksho spread through the entire capital city like a gust of wind. There were many versions. Some said the elder princess was jealous and wouldn't tolerate the prince consort having a sweetheart, and in a fit of rage, forced both of them onto a dead end. Some said the prince consort was ungrateful, favoring his concubine over his wife, angering the dragon's wrath, and ultimately ending up losing both people and wealth. But the most widely circulated and most convincing version was still the official statement. The prince consort Shen Wenyi, disregarding national law and lacking in moral character, has been stripped of his title and demoted to commoner status. Lu Shi, younger sister of the criminal official, blessed by His Majesty's great benevolence, has been granted marriage to General Shao Lai, defender of the North, and will depart for the borderlands immediately. For a time, the capital city was in an uproar. Everyone was discussing this matter, but the focus of their discussion was no longer the romantic scandal between Shen Wenye and Li Ruxie. It was me, Elder Princess Zhao Ningyue, that elder princess from the rumors, mad with love, weak and incompetent. Overnight, I had become the ruthless and calculating representative of the imperial family. Before, when those noble ladies saw me, their faces carried sympathy and pity. Now, when they see me, only awe and fear remain in their eyes. They began to reassess me, and began to re-educate their own daughters and daughters-in-law. Whatever you do, don't be like Li Ruxie, thinking you can climb up the social ladder and reach the sky in one step. What you think is a shortcut is actually a bottomless abyss. And don't be like the elder princess of before, living and dying for some man. Learn from Her Highness now. What are men worth? Power and status are a woman's greatest source of confidence. These words were all things Qing Yuan heard from outside the palace and told me. After hearing them, I only smiled and let it go. The common people are foolish, they can only see the surface. They will never understand that everything I've done has never been for power or status. I just want to live like a human being. I want to take back the dignity that should have belonged to me. Zhao Ningyue, after the divorce, I moved out of Changle Palace. I moved into the princess's residence that Father Emperor had bestowed upon me when I came of age. The residence is large and also very quiet, but I really like it. There is no trace of Shen Wenyi here, no disgusting memories. Mother Empress came to see me a few times. She held my hand and said with heartache, "Ningyue, you've been wronged." I shook my head. "Mother Empress, I am not wronged. Your daughter has figured it out. A forced melon isn't sweet. A man who doesn't love me is just a disaster waiting to happen. Things are good now. We part ways, each finding our own peace. It is pretty good." Mother Empress nodded with relief. If you can think this way, Mother Empress can rest easy. Your Father Emperor also feels he owes you something and wants to give you some compensation. Whatever you want, just tell Mother Empress. I thought for a moment and said, "Your daughter lacks nothing. It is just that your daughter has been in the palace for 3 years and has become unfamiliar with matters outside. Your daughter wants to help Mother Empress manage some of the palace's businesses. It would also ease Father Emperor's burdens." Mother Empress was somewhat surprised, but more than that, she was delighted. My Father Emperor is a wise ruler, but most of my brothers are mediocre. The Crown Prince is benevolent, but lacks decisiveness. The other princes are either indulging in pleasures or brimming with ambition, yet none possess the talent to govern the country. Father Emperor and Mother Empress have always been troubled by this matter. As a married-off princess, I shouldn't be meddling in court affairs. But now I've regained my freedom. I don't want to be like before, a canary kept in the inner palace. I am a princess of the great Xia dynasty. Royal blood flows through my veins. I too can do something for this country. Mother Empress agreed very soon. She handed over the largest imperial estate under her name for me to manage. It was an estate located in the suburbs of the capital, specifically supplying silk and cloth for the royal family. Magnificent in scale, but also riddled with problems. The previous managers had all been dismissed due to poor management. Mother Empress gave me this hot potato as both a test and a show of trust. I didn't decline. On the first day of taking over the imperial estate, I personally went to the estate with Qing Yuan. Unclear accounts, depleted warehouses, managers colluding with each other, workers slacking off. All sorts of problems, deeply intertwined, even trickier than I had imagined. I spent a full 7 days living at the estate, checking accounts during the day, interviewing managers at night. Finally figured out the whole picture. On the 8th day, I gathered all the managers and workers. In front of everyone, I dealt with the 3 managers who had embezzled the most. 2 were handed over to the Jingzhou governor, and 1 was beaten to death with a rod. The thunderous measures left everyone in terrified silence. Then I announced new rules and regulations, raised the workers' wages, reform the production process, introduce new weaving techniques, carrot and stick, a combination of kindness and authority. The entire imperial estate was completely renewed. When I returned to the princess's residence with the organized accounts and future development plan, it was already half a month later. I was so exhausted I almost collapsed, but I also felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment and satisfaction. Qing Yuan brought me a bowl of calming soup. While massaging my shoulders, she said, "Your Highness, you are truly amazing. This servant has never seen you like this before." I smiled and said nothing. Yeah, even I had almost forgotten. Before I married Shen Wenye, I was Father Emperor's proudest daughter, horseback riding, archery, poetry, and books. I excelled at everything. I used to think those things were worthless compared to love. Now I finally understand. What allows you to stand firm has never been a man's love, but your own abilities. Just at this moment, the steward from outside the residence hurriedly came to report. "Your Highness, someone from the palace has arrived. An urgent dispatch from the northern frontier delivering news of victory." News of victory from the northern frontier. Ai Weiwei was momentarily stunned. The northern frontier had been peaceful for a long time. Where would news of victory come from? Unless a thought flashed through my mind. Let them in. Soon, a messenger clad in armor, travel-worn and dusty, was brought in. He knelt on one knee, presenting a sealed memorial with both hands, reporting to Elder Princess Your Highness. General Shao Lai of the Northern Garrison, half a month ago, led 3,000 light cavalry in a surprise attack on the barbarian royal court, achieving a great victory. 3,000 enemies slain, the barbarian Khan and his family captured. This is the greatest victory our great Xia dynasty has seen in 10 years. The messenger's voice trembled with excitement. I took the memorial and opened it to look. Written on it in vermilion brushstrokes was Father Emperor's flamboyant endorsement. Shao Lai's merit deserves reward. I am greatly pleased. After reading the memorial, I handed it to Qing Yuan beside me. Go. Take 500 taels of gold and reward this messenger and the soldiers he brought with him. Thank you, Your Highness. The messenger was overjoyed and kowtowed repeatedly. I had him rise and asked, "General Shao's great victory makes me very happy as well. It is just, why didn't you deliver the victory report directly to the palace, but came to my princess's residence first?" The messenger pulled out another letter from his chest. This time it wasn't a memorial, but a private letter. The envelope was ordinary craft paper with no signature on it, only sealed with wax. Stamped with a wolf head insignia, that was the symbol of the Northern Frontier Army. "Your Highness, this is what General Shao asked me to personally deliver to you." The messenger respectfully handed over the letter. I took the letter, a strange feeling rising in my heart. A letter from Shao Lai to me. What did he have to say to me? I waved my hand, dismissing both the messenger and Qing Yuan alone. I sat under the lamp and opened the letter. The paper was rough, carrying the unique scent of wind-blown sand from the frontier. The handwriting on it, however, was vigorous and powerful, the strokes sharp, as if carved by a blade. The content of the letter was very brief, only a few short lines. "I thank Your Highness for the generous gift. Miss Liu is well. I have already arranged for her properly, according to the standard for military dependents. This woman is to me like passing clouds and smoke, not worth mentioning. My heart lies in the northern frontier, in the realm. I heard Your Highness has recently taken charge of the imperial estates, acting decisively and achieving much. This Shao admires you. The northern frontier is bitterly cold. The soldiers lack clothing and food, especially fine silk to make winter garments. Since Your Highness has a talent for trade, I wonder if you'd be willing to do business with this Shao, silk in exchange for war horses. If Your Highness agrees, the 100,000 cavalry of the northern frontier are willing to serve Your Highness like loyal dogs and horses." At the end of the letter, there was no signature, only a bold character, Lai. I held the letter, unable to speak for a long time. My heart was like the surface of a lake into which a giant boulder had been thrown, stirring up tremendous waves. This Shao Lai, he actually saw through everything. He knows that my arrangement of marriage with Li Ruxie wasn't truly meant to appease him. He also knows that I currently need an opportunity to prove my abilities and consolidate my position. He knows even more what my father, the Emperor, and our great Xia dynasty lack the most. War horses, our dynasty has been at war with the barbarians for years. The treasury is empty, and the horse farms are in ruins. A good war horse at the border is worth 1,000 gold pieces, and even then, they're priceless. Shao Lai, he actually wants to use war horses to trade with me for silk. How is this doing business? This is clearly showing goodwill toward me, presenting me with a massive pledge of allegiance. He is using the loyalty of the northern frontier's 100,000 cavalry to exchange for my friendship and support. This man, what a grand gesture, what great ambition. I originally thought he was just a brave and battle-skilled warrior. Now it seems I was wrong. He is not just a warrior. He is also a crafty hero with a sharp eye and deep understanding of politics. He is 1,000, even 10,000 times better than that idiot Shen Wenyi. I suddenly find it somewhat amusing. I schemed so hard to get rid of a good-for-nothing consort who was all looks and no substance. And in the blink of an eye, I've provoked a vicious wolf from the borderlands thousands of miles away. What is this? Is it fate or a cursed destiny? I stand up and walk to the window, gazing at that bright, clear moon in the night sky. In my heart, for the first time in a long while, a fighting spirit ignites. A voice speaks in the depths of my heart. Zhao Ningyue, this game seems to be getting more and more interesting. I return to my desk, I pick up my brush and spread out a new sheet of letter paper. The paper is pure white, smooth as jade. It is a tribute product newly produced from my imperial estate. I soak the brush full of ink and write only one character on the paper. Fine, then. I press my princess's golden seal firmly down below it, Qingyuan. I call out loudly. Go catch up with that messenger who just left and bring him back to this palace. Tell him that I have a reply and he must deliver it to General Xiao immediately. This game of chess. Since you made the first move, then don't blame me for seeing it through to the end, shall I? I'll remember you. My reply is just one word, yes. Yet it carries the weight of 1,000 tons. The messenger received his reward and rode at full speed back to the northern frontier. What he took with him was my Zhao Ningyue's promise, and also the beginning of my future enterprise. Qingyuan looked at me, her eyes filled with both excitement and worry. Your Highness, are you really going to do business with General Xiao? Silk for war horses? This is no small amount. Our imperial estate's output is probably far from enough. I nodded. You are right. So we can't rely solely on the imperial estate. I stood up and walked to the desk. I spread out a large map of the capital city. My finger slowly traced across the map. Finally, it landed on the most prosperous commercial districts in the eastern part of the city. I am going to establish a trading company. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried unquestionable determination. A trading company that belongs exclusively to me, Zhao Ningyue. Qingyuan gasped. Your Highness, this since ancient times. The royal family doesn't compete with the people for profit. If you do this, I am afraid it will invite criticism. I let out a cold laugh. When I was humiliated by Shen Wenyi, was there any lack of criticism? When they thought I was weak and easy to bully. Sympathy was cheap, and criticism was harsh. Now that I've stood up, their fear is real, and as for criticism, let it come. I'd like to see who dares criticize a princess who can obtain war horses for great Xia. My words made Qingyuan's blood boil. She nodded vigorously. This servant understands. Whatever your Highness wants to do, this servant will do it. I pointed at several spots on the map. Go, in the name of the princess's residence, send invitations to the owners of the capital city's largest silk shops, carriage and horse dealerships, and money houses. Tell them that in 3 days I will host a banquet in the mansion as there are important matters to discuss. Yes, Qingyuan left to carry out the orders. For the next 3 days, I didn't idle. I shut myself in the study, drawing on the knowledge I had learned in Father Emperor's study in the past, as well as my analysis of the imperial estate accounts. I personally wrote a thick proposal from the equity structure of the trading company to the scope of operations, from optimizing the silk production process to planning transportation routes, from profit distribution methods to risk control plans, every detail. I deliberated over repeatedly, striving for perfection. 3 days later, the princess's residence was brightly lit. The most prominent and influential merchants in the capital city all arrived as agreed. They were all old foxes who had been wheeling and dealing in the business world for decades. Each of them carried a bit of curiosity, a bit of wariness, and a bit of barely noticeable contempt. In their eyes, I was just a sheltered princess who suddenly wanted to talk business, most likely playing house like a child, full of fanciful ideas. The banquet began after 3 rounds of drinks. I didn't waste words with any nonsense and directly had people distribute my proposal to everyone present. Gentlemen, you are all the elites of our great Xia's business world. I've invited you here today because I want to do a big deal with you. A deal that can multiply your wealth tenfold within 10 years. My words stirred up a wave of low murmurs. They flipped through the proposals in their hands. The expressions on their faces gradually changed from initial indifference to gravity, then from gravity to shock. Finally, greedy gleams appeared in everyone's eyes. They were all people who knew their goods. Naturally, they could see what enormous business opportunities were contained in this proposal. Exclusive trading rights with the Northern Frontier Army. The princess's residence's royal background. This meant their trade routes would be smooth and unobstructed, with no one daring to provoke them. This meant they would monopolize a golden trade route with unimaginably high profits. Your Highness, is what you are saying true? An old shopkeeper surnamed Chan asked in a trembling voice. Silk in exchange for war horses? Not bad, I nodded. This palace will provide imperial authorization and northern frontier sales channels. You all will provide funds, manpower, and production networks. This palace takes 50% of the shares. The remaining 50% will be distributed among everyone present according to investment ratio. Of the profits from the merchant house, this palace will take 10% and submit it to the national treasury as military funds. The rest will divide as dividends according to shares. My conditions were clear and straightforward and full of temptation. They were moved, but they were still hesitating. The risk was too great. Doing business with a borderlands general was almost equivalent to participating in military and political affairs. One wrong step, and it would be eternal damnation. I looked at them, knowing what they were worried about. I smiled and clapped my hands. Qingyuan came up carrying a tray. On the tray was a piece of silk with flowing luster, thin as a cicada's wing. This is the cloud brocade newly developed by my imperial estate. Its toughness is 3 times that of ordinary silk. Its warmth retention is 5 times, yet its weight is only half. Most importantly, only this palace knows the weaving method. Winter clothes made from it can allow my northern frontier soldiers to withstand temperatures of -40 degrees. Gentlemen, what do you think such a bolt of cloth could sell for in the northern frontier? My words became the last straw that broke the camel's back. In the face of absolute profit, all risk seemed insignificant. Shopkeeper Qian was the first to stand up. He bowed deeply to me. Your Highness possesses great talent and bold strategies. This old man admires you. My Qian family is willing to contribute 500,000 taels of silver to invest in the trading company. With the first one came the second. My Sunday family is willing to contribute 450,000 taels. My Lai family will also contribute 400,000 taels. In one night, I raised 2 million taels of silver in startup capital. A massive commercial empire named Jinghua was quietly born in my princess's residence, and its first goal was to use the finest silk to pave the road leading to the northern frontier. To used the war horses from the northern frontier to trample all obstacles before me. I stood on the high steps, watching the excited backs of those merchants as they left. I knew that from today on, I, Zhao Ningyue, am no longer just the elder princess of Great Xia. I am also the master of Jinghua Trading Company. After Jinghua Trading Company was established, the entire commercial landscape of the capital city was shaken. With overwhelming force, I consolidated over 70% of the capital city's silk industry. New looms were transported into the workshops, new techniques were taught to the workers. With the support of abundant capital, the imperial farms and the workshops under my name began working day and night to produce that exquisite silk called cloud brocade. In just 1 month, the first batch of winter clothing fabric sufficient to equip 50,000 troops was already prepared. At the same time, a massive merchant caravan composed of 3,000 people had also assembled on the outskirts of the capital city. Carts and horses, guards, provisions, goods, everything was in perfect order. The scale was so massive, it even surpassed the court's tribute transport convoy. Such a huge commotion naturally couldn't escape the eyes within the palace. Even less could it escape those political enemies eyeing like tigers from the court. Especially my second imperial brother, Prince Qizhao Ningxi. He was the most powerful prince aside from the crown prince. All along, He had always regarded me as a thorn in his side. In the past, I was absorbed in my marriage affairs with Shen Wenyi, posing no threat to him whatsoever. Now that I had completely changed, showing my sharp edge, he naturally felt uneasy. The second day after the caravan departed, at morning court, sure enough, someone came to make trouble. The one who stepped forward was Imperial Censor Zhang Cheng. He was a backbone member of Prince Chi's faction. He was seen holding a jade tablet, stepping out with righteous indignation. "I petition your majesty. This subject has a memorial to present." Father Emperor sat on the dragon throne, his expression calm. "Speak." "This subject has heard that Her Highness the Elder Princess recently established a trading company, brazenly amassing wealth and competing with the people for profit. Furthermore, she privately traded with the borderlands generals, exchanging silk for war horses on a massive scale, utterly shocking. The nation's war horses are critical military assets. How can they be privately exchanged by a mere princess? The elder princess's actions disregard national law and collude with external generals, threatening to shake the foundation of the state. This subject requests your majesty issue a decree to thoroughly investigate this matter and restore proper order to the court." Zhang Cheng's words were like a boulder thrown into a calm lake. The entire Taihe Hall immediately erupted in discussion. Many officials who were aligned with the Prince of Qi stepped forward, one after another, to echo him. "Lord Zhang speaks reasonably. Please your majesty see clearly. The princess meddling in politics and befriending border generals is a grave taboo." Crown Prince stood to the side, brows tightly knitted, seemingly wanting to speak up for me but not knowing where to start. The Prince of Qi stood among the crowd, a faint cold sneer hanging at the corner of his mouth. He thought that this time I was done for. Father Emperor's gaze swept across the ministers below the hall. Finally, it landed on me according to protocol. As a princess who had been married off, I had no need to attend court. But today, Father Emperor specifically summoned me to the hall to observe. Clearly, he had long anticipated this scene would occur today. He wanted to see how I would respond. Ningyue, Father Emperor spoke, his voice revealing neither joy nor anger. "What Lord Zhang has said. Do you have anything to say?" I slowly stepped out from the ranks. Today I wore a crimson palace dress with phoenixes spreading their wings embroidered in gold thread. Magnificent and imposing, I walked to the center of the great hall and first paid my respects to Father Emperor. Then I turned toward Zhang Cheng. "Lord Zhang," my voice was cold as ice. "This palace wishes to ask you 3 questions." Zhang Cheng was taken aback, then raised his head. "Your Highness, please speak first." The commercial enterprise I established uses funds entirely from the dowry bestowed by Mother Empress and investments from merchant partners. Not a single coin from the national treasury has been touched. I am doing business with my own money. How can this be called competing with the people for profit? This Lord Zhang was momentarily at a loss for words. I didn't give him a chance to catch his breath. Second, I trade silk for war horses. The silk is a product of my Jinghua trading company. The war horses are equipment obtained for our great Xia soldiers. This benefits both the nation and the people. As Imperial Censor Lord Zhang, instead of thinking about sharing the nation's burdens, you are here hurling accusations. What are your true intentions? My voice suddenly rose sharply. Do you know how many soldiers at the northern frontier die each year not from blades, but from the bitter cold? Do you know that with our dynasty's horse farms in decline, how much silver it costs to purchase a single quality war horse from foreign lands? I use some fabric to exchange for thousands of war horses, saving the treasury millions in expenses and obtaining life-saving winter clothing for our soldiers. In your eyes, this is an act that shakes the foundation of our nation. Lord Zhang, doesn't your conscience hurt? Every word I spoke pierced the heart, each sentence resounding. Lord Zhang's face instantly turned the color of pig liver. He stammered, unable to utter a single word. I didn't look at him, but turned around to face Father Emperor on the dragon throne once more. I took out a ledger from my sleeve. "Father Emperor, this is the future profit projection for Jinghua Trading Company. Daughter promises that 30% of the Merchant Guild's net profits will be donated to the national treasury without compensation, to be used as military expenses." Another 20% will be used to establish schools in the northern frontier, provide relief to orphans, and educate the barbarians. The remaining 50% will be dividends for the Merchant Guild's shareholders. What daughter does is for the realm, for the state. And even more for you, Father Emperor. Daughter only wishes to share Father Emperor's burdens, absolutely without any selfish motives. Heaven and earth can bear witness, the sun and moon can attest. Having said that, I raised the account book high above my head. Then I knelt down heavily. The entire great hall fell silent. Everyone was stunned by my words. They hadn't expected that behind my seemingly simple business venture, there was actually such a far-reaching plan. Even less did they expect that I would actually take out half of the profits. This was no longer just doing business. This was using my own money to transfuse blood into the nations. The King of Chi's expression became extremely unpleasant. The impeachment he had meticulously planned was effortlessly resolved by me. Not only that, I also took this opportunity to establish a glorious image of serving the country and the people before Father Emperor and all the civil and military officials. He lost utterly and completely. On the dragon throne, there was silence for a long while. Suddenly, a loud clapping sound rang out. Good, Father Emperor stood up, his face showing approval and excitement I had never seen before. Well said, to have such a daughter in our Zhao family, why worry about the realm not being settled? He descended from the dragon throne and personally helped me to my feet. Ningyue, you've done very well, you've truly won my heart. He took the account book from my hands and without even looking at it, handed it to the eunuchs beside him. Convey my decree, his voice echoed throughout the great hall. Confer upon Elder Princess Zhao Ningyue the title of Nation-Protecting Elder Princess. Bestow upon her a golden medallion, granting her authority 3 ranks above any official she encounters. Jinghua Trading Company shall be under the princess's full authority, and no one shall interfere. Its trade with the northern frontier shall be listed as a matter of national importance. The Ministry of Revenue and Ministry of War must provide full cooperation. Any who disobey or show negligence shall be guilty of the same crime as treason. By imperial decree, Father Emperor's decree was like thunderbolts exploding beside everyone's ears. Zhang Cheng collapsed to the ground, his face ashen as death. The Prince of Qi clenched his fist so tightly his nails nearly embedded into his flesh, and I stood beside Father Emperor, meeting the respectful or fearful gazes of all the civil and military officials. I knew from this moment on in the court of Great Sha I Zhao Ningyue finally had my own place. Father Emperor's imperial edict paved all the roads for Jinghua Trading Company. With the full support of the Ministry of War and Ministry of Revenue, my caravan traveled without obstruction. Half a month later, the first batch of cloud brocade successfully reached the northern frontier. Another half-month passed Shaolai's reply, along with the first batch of war horses, arrived at the capital city together. The letter was still on that rough cowhide paper. The handwriting was still as vigorous and powerful as ever. Goods received. The soldiers are jubilant. The cloud brocade's quality far exceeds expectations. This subject, on behalf of the 100,000 soldiers of the northern frontier, thanks your highness for the grace of saving our lives. The first batch of 500 war horses, all selected from the best of the best. Please inspect them. Your highness. Also, Lady Liu is not accustomed to the climate here and has been frequently ill recently. This subject has already asked the military physician to treat her. Your highness need not worry. At the end of the letter, he mentioned Liu Rakshe. His tone was flat, as if talking about some trivial matter. But I knew this was him showing me his stance. He had accepted Liu Rakshe this chess piece, but she would never be able to influence him. The alliance between us was pure and solid. I put down the letter, a weight lifted from my heart. Your Highness, the horse convoy has entered the city. Qingyuan ran in excitedly. A full 500 horses, every single one is tall, strong, and extraordinarily magnificent. The common people of the capital city have all come out to watch the excitement blocking up the roads. I smiled and stood up. Let's go, we'll take a look too. I didn't go to the city gate to greet them. Instead, I went straight up to the highest watchtower of the princess's residence. From here, I could overlook most of the capital city. I saw a black torrent formed by fine horses, slowly moving from Juke Avenue toward the direction of the imperial palace. At the very front of the horse convoy was a burly vice-general. He held a black wolf head banner. That was Shaolai's commander flag. Wherever the flag went, commoners made way one after another, their eyes filled with awe. What they were in awe of was the invincible, mighty army guarding the northern frontier. And even more. So the master behind this mighty army nation, protecting elder princess Zhao Ningyue, I watched that magnificent scene, my heart swelling with heroic spirit, Qingyuan. This servant is here. Relay my order. The horse convoy need not come to the princess's residence. Have them go directly outside the palace gate and form ranks awaiting the imperial decree. Qingyuan was taken aback. Your Highness, these horses were sent to you by General Shao. I shook my head. Number, these are not sent to me. This is a gift that Shaolai and I are presenting together to Father Emperor, to our great Sha. Qingyuan, quick-witted as she was, instantly understood my intention. This servant will see to it right away. Half an hour later, outside the meridian gate of the imperial palace, 500 magnificent northern frontier warhorses were neatly arranged in the plaza. Each horse was draped in red silk, appearing both festive and imposing. I changed into the court robes of the nation-protecting elder princess, and personally entered the palace to have an audience with Father Emperor. When I presented both Shaolai's letter and the list of war horses together, Father Emperor's face revealed undisguisable excitement. He was practically running as he personally climbed up to the tower of the Meridian Gate, when he saw that dark mass in the plaza like a forest of steel with all those war horses. This supreme ruler couldn't help but let out a hearty laugh. Good, excellent, Shaolai. You truly are worthy of being my champion marquise. Ningyue, you too are worthy of being my Qilin daughter. He turned around and vigorously patted my shoulder. You have rendered unprecedented service to great Sha. Speak, what reward do you want? As long as I have it. I'll give it to you. I knelt down. Father Emperor, your daughter does not want a reward. This batch of war horses was originally ordered by your daughter from General Shao on Father Emperor's behalf. Your daughter dares not claim credit. Your daughter has only one request. Speak. Your daughter requests that Father Emperor allocate all 500 war horses to the feathered forest guards of the capital city's imperial guards. The feathered forest guards are the elite force that protects the capital and safeguards Father Emperor. Only by equipping the finest war horses to the most elite warriors can their maximum value be realized. And only then can they better protect Father Emperor and protect our great Xia's empire. My words greatly pleased Father Emperor. He looked at me, his eyes filled with admiration and gratification. A daughter who is capable yet doesn't covet credit. A daughter who wields great power yet always keeps the sovereign father in her heart. With such a daughter, what was there for him to worry about that day? Father Emperor issued an edict in front of everyone. Not only did he bestow all 500 war horses to the Yulin Guard, he also promoted me exceptionally, appointing me concurrently to the position of Sima Monitor. The Sima Monitor was the highest institution in the Great Sha dynasty responsible for managing the nation's horse administration. This position meant that I not only controlled the economic lifeline, but also indirectly gained access to military power. My authority had reached its peak. The threshold of the princess's residence was nearly trampled through by officials coming to congratulate and pay visits. I became the most sought-after figure in the capital city. However, just as I was basking in success, a conspiracy targeting me was also brewing in the shadows. That evening, I was hosting a banquet in the mansion, entertaining several major shareholders of the Jinghua Trading Company. The atmosphere was lively, but Qingyuan walked quickly to my side with a grave expression, whispering a few words in my ear. My expression instantly darkened. I waved my hand to stop the singing and dancing, apologized to everyone, and got up to return to the inner hall. Speak, what is going on? Qingyuan's face showed both anger and unease. Your Highness, I don't know where the rumors came from, but now every tea house and tavern in the entire capital city is saying. She paused as if finding it difficult to speak. They're saying, you and General Shao from the northern frontier have an extraordinary relationship. They say that one-eyed demon took a fancy to your beauty, which is why he is willing to do business with you. And they're also saying those 500 war horses were General Shao's betrothal gifts to you. They've slandered all the achievements you made in the court, turning them into sordid transactions between a man and a woman. Qingyuan was trembling with anger. After hearing this, I wasn't angry. A cold smile even appeared on my face. The tactics were too low level, but also too vicious. They couldn't defeat me in the court, so they wanted to use this kind of despicable gossip to destroy my reputation. An unmarried princess having an affair with a general from the borderlands. This scandal was enough to make Father Emperor suspicious of me. Enough to make everyone in the world despise me. What a move to pull the rug out from under me. Have you found out who is behind this? I asked coldly. Qingyuan shook her head. The rumors spread too fast, the source is hard to trace. But aside from the Qi King, this servant can't think of anyone else who would use such a vicious method against you. I nodded. Besides him, it couldn't be anyone else. My dear second brother, you think you can bring me down with this method. You underestimate me, Zhao Ningyue, too much. And you underestimate Shao Lai, who is thousands of miles away, too much. I looked at the moonlight outside the window, my eyes becoming profound. Since they like making up stories, then I will accompany them and put on a good show. Qingyuan, prepare the carriage. I want to go somewhere. The place I am going to isn't some grand and glorious palace, nor is it a bustling marketplace filled with merchants. It is the Martyr's Shrine located in the western suburbs of the capital city. There, it enshrines the memorial tablets of all soldiers who sacrificed themselves for the country since the founding of our great Xia dynasty, tens of thousands of them. Densely packed behind each cold wooden tablet was once a living life, a shattered family. The incense offerings there are scarce, and it is rarely visited. Aside from the royal ceremonies in spring and autumn each year, almost no one sets foot there, because that place is filled with the aura of death and sorrow. The nobles don't like it. The carriage stops outside the Martyr's Shrine. I don't let anyone follow me alone, dressed in plain clothes. I walk into that solemn and dignified ancestral hall. The heavy scent of sandalwood mixed with the smell of blood hits me in the face. I walk to the memorial tablet of the unknown general enshrined at the very front. I pick up 3 long incense sticks and light them. Then respectfully I bow 3 times and kowtow 9 times. I don't pray for myself, nor do I pray for the Zhao family's kingdom. I simply close my eyes and recite silently in my heart. Heroic souls above, Zhao Ningyue makes this oath here. All soldiers of our great Xia who guard the frontiers and die wrapped in horse hide. Their parents shall be my parents, and I will provide for them. Their wives and children shall be my siblings, and I will protect them. If there are orphans, I will personally raise and educate them to become capable individuals. This oath witnessed by heaven and earth, observed by the gods. If I break this oath, may heaven and earth destroy me. I didn't make a sound, but every word of mine seemed to be carved into the beams and pillars of this ancestral hall. I stayed here for a full 3 hours, from dusk until deep into the night. I looked at the memorial tablets one by one, trying to remember those unfamiliar names. It wasn't until the moon reached its zenith that I dragged my exhausted body out of the hero's shrine. Qingyuan had been waiting anxiously outside the door for a long time. Seeing me come out, she hurried over. "Your Highness, are you all right?" I shook my head. "I am fine." "How did it go with spreading the news I asked you to?" Qingyuan nodded. "It is all taken care of. This servant found several of the best storytellers in the capital city. They've turned your visit to the hero's shrine today to pay respects and your oath for the fallen soldiers' orphans into several versions of stories. Some tragic, some heroic. They especially emphasize that you came alone to pay tribute because seeing those 500 war horses made you think of the soldiers who sacrificed behind those war horses, moved by the sentiment. Right now, half the storytellers in the capital city are telling the story of Elder Princess's night vigil at the hero's shrine. The common people who heard it were all moved to tears. They all say you are a living Buddha with a benevolent heart who cares for the soldiers." I listened, a faint smile appearing on my face. "On the battlefield of public opinion, you splash me with filthy water. I shall use clear spring water to wash myself clean. Not only that, I will let this clear spring converge into rivers, completely submerging your bit of filthy water." Well done, I boarded the carriage. However, stories alone are not enough. Tomorrow morning, issue a notice in the name of Jinghua Trading Company. Enyon in the capital city who has relatives serving in the Northern Frontier Army may come to the trading company to receive 1 bolt of cloud brocade for winter clothing. Any family members of fallen northern frontier soldiers may come to the trading company monthly to receive 10 taels of silver in compensation upon presenting military documents. Y'all expenses shall be borne entirely by my princess's residence. Qing Yuan's eyes instantly lit up. Your Highness, this move of yours is brilliant. With this, those rumors and gossip will become the biggest joke. Who would still believe that a princess who treats soldiers and their families so generously would have any improper relationship with a general at the borderlands? This isn't illicit dealings at all. This is clearly a sincere heart that cherishes the troops. I closed my eyes, leaning against the cushion. The Prince of Qi wants to destroy my reputation. I'll use his momentum to erect a monument of merit for myself. A monument he will never be able to topple. He wants to make me the laughingstock of the capital city. I'll show him how I, Zhao Ningyue, become the true guardian deity in the hearts of the capital city's soldiers and citizens. The next day, when the notice was posted, capital city was shaken. Countless military families flocked to Jinghua Trading Company when they actually received that valuable cloud brocade and the heavy silver manny white-haired elderly, and women holding infants knelt toward the direction of the princess's residence and wouldn't get up. Elder princess who protects the nation, long live, long live, long live, long live. Praises like mountain calls and ocean roars spread throughout every street and alley of capital city. Those scandalous rumors about me and Shaolai vanished into thin air overnight. In their place were countless versions of the tale, the princess loves her soldiers like her own children. Inside Prince Qi's residence, I bet my dear second brother has already smashed his most beloved jade piece in anger, but he doesn't know this is just the beginning. The first punch he threw missed. Next. It is my turn to make a move, sisters. This is what you call a real textbook example of crisis management. The Qi King wanted to use rumors to smear the female lead, but she went straight for the root of the problem. You say General Shao and I have an affair. Fine. Then I'll use actual actions to show the world that General Shao and my relationship is purely about loving our country and people. The nighttime memorial at the Hero's Shrine was brilliant. It both showed respect for the soldiers and shut everyone up. Plus, with real silver and cloth being distributed, who would dare gossip anymore? I give this move 101 points. The extra point because I am not afraid the female lead will get cocky, but seriously though, it was so hard for women in ancient times to gain a foothold in court one wrong step, and people would use it against you. Someone like the female lead with both skills and vision would definitely be top-tier CEO material in modern times. The Qi King lost the first round but wasn't willing to let it go. He laid low for a few days, seemingly searching for a new opportunity, and I wasn't idle either. Jinghua Trading Company was the sharp sword in my hand. It could not only create wealth for me, but also gather intelligence. The company's caravans traveled north and south. The company's workers were spread across the 9 provinces. From all walks of life and every trade, we had our people. A massive intelligence network covering all of Great Xia was quietly taking shape. I gave this network a name, called it Tingfeng Pavilion. I had Tingfeng Pavilion operating at full capacity, all to investigate one matter, King Qiao, Ningqi. Where did the money come from all these years for him to recruit soldiers, buy horses, and support his retainers? A prince's stipend is fixed. The rewards given by the Empress Dowager also have a set amount. With that little income of his, it is nowhere near enough to support such massive expenditures. He must have another source of wealth. A source of wealth that cannot see the light of day. The results of the investigation were soon delivered to my desk. Looking at the contents of the secret report, my gaze grew colder and colder. Smuggling salt and iron. Salt and iron in our Great Xia are exclusively operated by the government office. Any private trade is a grave crime punishable by confiscation of property and extermination of the entire clan. And yet King Qi had such audacity. He used the power in his hands to secretly collude with several major salt merchants from Jiangnin and iron mine owners from the north, selling off government salt and government iron at low prices. Then those merchants would sell them to foreign states at high prices. The profit from this was shockingly high, and his smuggling route happened to pass through an important waterway. The Tongzhou Canal. The one responsible for guarding the Tongzhou Canal was a commander from the capital garrison forces named Shen Wang. This man was King Qi's trusted confidant. It was he who opened the door of convenience for King Qi's smuggling fleet. What a Zhao Ningqi, truly a parasite of the nation. I held the secret report over the candle flame and burned it to ash. Qingyuan, your servant is here. Go to Tingfeng Pavilion and relay my orders. Have them keep a close watch on the Tengzhou Canal. The next time the Qi King's fleet passes through, I need to know the exact time and the cargo manifest on the ships. Also, have the steward of our merchant house in Zhongnan find a way to make contact with those salt merchants cooperating with the Qi King. Tell them that Jinghua Merchant House can offer them a better option. An option that won't cost them their heads. A hint of excited killing intent showed on Qingyuan's face. Your Highness, are you planning to? I nodded. The Qi King is the lord. I am the subject. I cannot move against him directly, but Chen Wang is just a dog of his. I will personally sever his most capable arm in front of the entire court. I will let him know that crossing me, Zhao Ningyue, comes with a price. 10 days later, the opportunity came. A secret report arrived from Tingfeng Pavilion. 3 days from now at midnight, one of the Qi King's fleets would be carrying 10,000 jin of illegal salt through the Tengzhou Canal. I immediately took my token and entered the palace that very night. I did not go to see Father Emperor. Instead, I went directly to the garrison of the Yulin Guard. The commander of the Yulin Guard was named Lin Wei, is an upright and incorruptible general, because I rendered meritorious service by presenting horses. He respects me quite a bit. I handed him the token and a written order. Commander Lin, I suspect that Chen Wang, the governor of Tengzhou, is colluding with bandits and smuggling contraband supplies. This is the search warrant I've obtained from Father Emperor. Please immediately mobilize 3,000 Yulin guards and accompany me to Tengzhou to catch them red-handed. Lin Wei looked at Father Emperor's personal signature and imperial seal on the written order, and without hesitation knelt on one knee. This subordinate obeys your command. 3,000 Yulin guards, like a black bolt of lightning, tore through the night sky of the capital city. We silently surrounded the docks of Tengzhou Canal. The hour of Z. Over a dozen large ships flying ordinary merchant flags indeed slowly sailed into the port. Chen Wang had been waiting for quite some time. He exchanged a few brief words with the people on the ships, then waved his hand to signal clearance. Just at this moment, I raised my hand. Release arrows. The archers lying in ambush released a volley of 10,000 arrows, countless flaming arrows, trailing long tails of fire, shot toward the fleet. The ships instantly burst into raging flames. The Yulin guards lying in ambush all around charged out like tigers descending the mountain. Chen Wang and those smugglers hadn't even reacted yet before they became turtles in a jar. Lin Wei took the lead and kicked Chen Wang to the ground with one foot. By order of the elder princess who protects the nation, here to arrest the traitorous rebel. Chen Wang, do you admit your guilt? Chen Wang looked at the Yulin guards descending from the sky and me in red robes with a face cold as frost in the firelight. His face instantly turned ashen. He knew he was finished. Prince Qi was finished too. The great fire burned for an entire night the next morning. When Father Emperor and the civil and military officials saw the mountains of smuggled salt piled up at the dock and the ships burned down to just their frames, everyone was too shocked to speak. Father Emperor's face was livid. He looked at Chen Wang kneeling on the ground, trembling like a sieve. Speak, who is your mastermind? Chen Wang kowtowed like pounding garlic, yet didn't dare speak Prince Qi's name. I stepped forward. Father Emperor, your son believes there is no need to ask. I took out a ledger from my sleeve. This is the ledger seized from in the mansion of Chen Wang. It clearly records every instance of his smuggling, the time, quantity, and the details of dividing the spoils. Where the largest sum of money flowed to is written clearly and plainly in the ledger. I presented the ledger to Father Emperor. Father Emperor opened the ledger. He only glanced at it once. His hands began to tremble violently. He suddenly grabbed the account book and smashed it hard onto the ground. Unfilial son. Truly a fine son of mine, shaking all over with rage. He pointed at the eunuch behind him. Convey my decree. Prince Qi Zhao Ningqi is morally corrupt, formed factions for personal gain, smuggled national goods. His crimes are monstrous. Effective immediately, his princely title is stripped. He is demoted to commoner status. He shall be confined to his manor for life, forbidden to leave without imperial edict. His treacherous minister Chen Wang shall be executed immediately. All personnel involved in the case shall have their homes raided and their families punished unto 3 generations. Father Emperor's furious roar echoed over Tongzhou Wharf. Prince Qi, this once invincible imperial prince, my greatest political enemy, just like that, I personally sent him into an abyss of eternal damnation. I stood there, watching everything he had painstakingly built vanish into smoke and ash before my eyes. In my heart there was not a shred of joy, only a cold, icy calm. I knew this game of chess was far from over. Prince Qi's downfall stirred up towering waves in the capital city. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. The once bustling Prince Qi's manor became deserted overnight. All officials connected to Prince Qi lived in constant fear and anxiety, terrified that in the next moment, the blade of the feathered forest guards would be at my neck, and my princess's residence became the new center of power in the capital city. Officials, generals, and retainers coming to pledge their allegiance were endless. I politely declined them all. I don't need factions. I only need subordinates who are capable and loyal. Father Emperor fell seriously ill because of Prince Qi's matter. After recovering, he relied on me even more. Many important state affairs in court. He would first ask for my opinion. I had practically become the princess regent in all but name. Crown Prince Brother had no objections to this. He was kind-hearted by nature and not skilled in power struggles. My assertiveness was, for him, a form of protection. He knew that everything I did was to stabilize him and stabilize this dynasty. We siblings joined hands in the court for a time. The atmosphere was clear and upright. On this day, I was in the mansion handling the accounts sent by the trading company. Qing Yuan suddenly came in to report. Your Highness, there is a guest outside the mansion requesting an audience. He says he is an old acquaintance of yours. Old acquaintance? I was somewhat puzzled. I didn't have any old acquaintances in the capital city. What is his name? Qing Yuan shook her head. He didn't say. He only asked the servant to give this thing to you. As she spoke, she handed over a wooden box. I opened the box inside. A wolf fang lay quietly. The wolf fang had been polished, smooth, and lustrous. There was even a character carved on it. Shen, my pupils suddenly contracted. Shen Wenye. This name I had almost forgotten. Wasn't he demoted to commoner status and driven out of the capital city? How does he still have the guts to come back and dare to call himself an old friend of mine? A hint of disgust and murderous intent flashed in my eyes. Let him in. I want to see for myself this man I personally trampled into the mud, what he has become now. A moment later, a man wearing coarse hemp clothes, thin and gaunt, was brought in. His face was full of weathered marks. Those eyes that once captivated me had now become murky and dull. Not a trace of the top scholar's bearing remained. He saw me. He froze for a long time. Then, with a thud, he dropped to his knees. This guilty commoner Shen Wenye kowtows before Her Highness, the elder princess, protector of the nation. His voice was hoarse and dry. I didn't tell him to get up. I just picked up my teacup and gently blew on the steam. Shen Wenye, aren't you supposed to be back in your hometown? Farming and studying? What is the work in the fields too hard, so you want to come back to the capital city and seek wealth and status again? My words were full of mockery. His body trembled violently. He raised his head, his eyes full of pain and regret. Your Highness, this guilty commoner knows he was wrong. Back then, this guilty commoner was blinded by greed and was seduced by that bitch Liu Rukshe. That is why I did such an ungrateful and despicable thing. These past few months, this guilty commoner has been wandering outside, suffering all kinds of cold shoulders and hardships. Only now does this guilty commoner finally understand who truly cared for him. Your Highness, this guilty commoner will never forget your kindness. This guilty commoner didn't come back seeking wealth and status. This guilty commoner only wishes to stay by your Highness's side, to work like an ox or horse for you, to atone for my mistakes. He spoke with tears streaming down his face. If it were me from 3 years ago, perhaps I would have softened. But now I only find it laughable. A man, only when he is down and out, remembers how good you were to him. This kind of cheap remorse is worthless. Work like an ox or horse. I put down the teacup. This palace's manor doesn't lack oxen or horses. What is lacking is a dog that can bite. Can you bite? Shen Wenyu froze. He seemed not to understand my meaning. I stood up and walked in front of him. This palace can give you a chance to stand up again. But you must remember, from now on, you are no longer Shen Wenyi. You are merely the most obedient dog under this palace's seat. Whoever this palace tells you to bite, you must bite, even if that person is your own parents. Can you do it? My voice was like ice from the 9 depths of the underworld Shen. Wenyi looked at the emotionless coldness in my eyes. He finally understood. The woman before him was no longer the little princess who obeyed his every word. She was a god on high, and also the king of hell who could decide his life and death. Immense fear and a hint of twisted excitement surged into his heart simultaneously. He knew this was his last chance. He kowtowed to me 3 times, heavily. His forehead was bleeding from the impact. Master, he raised his head, his eyes gleaming with a crazed light. From now on, my life, Shen Wenyi's life, belongs to you. If you tell me to go east, I will never go west. If you tell me to bite someone, I will never just bark twice. I nodded with satisfaction. Very good. I indeed need such a mad dog by my side, one who knows the rules of the court, hates me to the bone, yet dares not resist. He can help me do certain things that are inconvenient for me to do personally as a princess. For example, to tear into those enemies hiding in the shadows. Get up. I turned and sat back in the main seat. I have the first task for you right now. Go investigate someone. The imperial uncle Wei Zheng. After the Prince of Qi's downfall, the greatest power in the court became the conservative faction led by the maternal relatives, the Wei family. Imperial Uncle Wei Zheng is the leader of the Wei family. He is also the maternal relative my mother, the Empress, relies on most. This man appears gentle on the surface, indifferent to worldly struggles. But I always feel that hidden in those seemingly cloudy old eyes is an ambition even deeper than the Prince of Qi's. I need someone to tear off his hypocritical mask for me, and Shen Wenyi, the former top scholar, is undoubtedly the best candidate. He is familiar with the ways of officialdom and knows how to read people's minds. Most importantly, he has nothing left to lose. To climb up, he'll stop at nothing. Shen Wenyi accepted the order. His eyes gleaming with bloodthirsty light, he knew his new life had begun. He turned and left. When he reached the door, he stopped again and turned back to ask, "Master, that Liu Ruksha, she—" I picked up my tea without looking at him. Liu Ruksha, oh, forgot to tell you. The northern frontier sent the latest batch of war horses, along with a letter from General Shao. The letter said Liu caught a cold and didn't make it through. She is already dead. Her body was thrown in the mass grave and fed to the wolves. Shen Wenyi's body suddenly stiffened, a complex. Indecipherable emotion flashed across his face. There was shock, there was regret, but more than anything, there was relief. He bowed deeply to me once more. Then without looking back, he disappeared beyond the door. I watched his retreating figure, the corner of my mouth curling into a cold arc. Liu Ruksha is dead? No. She is not dead, Shao Lai said in the letter that she was living well. She even hooked up with a minor captain thanks to her looks. But why should I tell Shen Wenyi the truth? A dog with lingering attachments in its heart won't be loyal. Only by making him completely give up hope and have nothing left will he wholeheartedly be at my disposal. This game of chess is getting bigger and bigger, and I am increasingly enjoying this feeling of holding the pieces and controlling everything. Shen Wenyi disappeared into the vast sea of people in the capital city. When he appeared again, he had already changed his identity, a down-and-out scholar from Zhongnan, named Wen Qi. Wearing a faded scholarly robe, carrying a few volumes of poetry and books, his face bore the aloofness of a scholar, and even more the dejection of unrecognized talent. No one would connect this destitute scholar with the once famous top scholar of the capital. This was the new identity I arranged for him, and also the new mask he chose for himself. He didn't rush to approach the imperial uncle Wei Zheng. He knew that such a colossal figure wasn't something he could touch right now. He was like a patient, hungry wolf, quietly prowling around his prey, searching for the weakest link. His first target was Wei Zheng's distant nephew, Wei Shao, a typical spoiled rich kid. Cockfighting, dog racing, wine and women, he was skilled at them all. His only ability was bullying others outside by relying on the Wei family's reputation. Shen Wenyi, no, he is Wen Qi now. He found Wei Shao at the capital city's most extravagant gambling house, Chenjin Fang. That day, Wei Shao's luck was terrible. In just 1 hour, he'd lost 3,000 taels of silver. His eyes red from losing. He slammed the table. wanting to keep betting, but the servant boy beside him was about to cry. "Young master, there is no money left. We've lost all the banknotes we brought." Wei Xiao flew into a rage and kicked over the stool beside him. "No money. This young master has no money. Go. Tell the manager to put it on my tab." The gambling house's manager was a smiling tiger. He came forward with a smile. "Young Master Wei, it is not that we don't give you face. It is just that your account from last month still hasn't been settled. The boss has ordered no credit whatsoever." Wei Xiao's face turned red, then white. Being humiliated like this in front of everyone, he felt utterly ashamed. Just then, a slender figure walked to his side. It was Wen Qi. He pulled out a thin banknote from his chest. The banknote wasn't large, only 100 taels, but it was everything he had on him. "Young Master Wei," Wen Qi's voice carried a scholarly air, "I have here some travel money. If young master doesn't mind, you can take it first for emergencies." Wei Xiao froze. He looked at this unfamiliar poor scholar before him, his eyes full of doubt and vigilance. "Who are you? Why would you help me?" Wen Qi smiled faintly, his smile sincere. "I am Wen Qi, just a humble scholar. The reason I presume to help is because I too have experienced such dire straits as young master, seeing young master's spirit. I cannot bear to watch you be humiliated here. A mere 100 taels is hardly a worthy gesture. Consider it simply me making a friend in young master." His words were flawlessly said, both flattering Wei Xiao and preserving his own dignity. Wei Xiao was a simple-minded person to begin with. Hearing these words, the vigilance in his heart immediately dissipated by more than half. Moreover, he urgently needed money to win it back now. He snatched the banknote and patted Wen Qi's shoulder. "Good, I accept you as a friend. Once I win it back, I'll definitely repay you tenfold." However, that 100 taels of silver was also quickly lost completely. Wei Xiao was utterly deflated when Qi didn't give him more money. Instead, he supported him and left the gambling den. In a tavern by the roadside, Wen Qi ordered a pot of the cheapest, lowest quality liquor for him. Wei Xiao, emboldened by the alcohol, poured out his grievances, complaining about his bad luck, complaining about how strictly his family controlled him. Wen Qi just listened quietly. From time to time, he would chime in with a word or two, saying a few sympathetic things. Back and forth they went. Wei Xiao actually came to regard this poor scholar he'd met by chance as a true confidant. For the following half-month, Wen Qi became the closest attendant by Wei Xiao's side. He helped Wei Xiao scheme and plan and took drinks for him at banquets. He even helped him write love poems to win over the new singing girl he'd taken a fancy to. He did everything flawlessly without revealing the slightest hint of ulterior motives, as if everything he did was purely out of loyalty to a friend. Wei Xiao's trust in him grew deeper and deeper. He even shared some family secrets as bragging material, telling them to him. On this day, the two got drunk again. Wei Xiao put his arm around Wen Qi's neck and said drunkenly, "Wen Qi, let me tell you a secret. That uncle of mine who is the national uncle, he is not as incorruptible as he appears on the outside. You know what? His favorite things aren't gold or silver, and they're not beautiful women either. They're those ancient books and paintings from the previous dynasty, especially authentic works by Wang Siji, the great scholar of the previous dynasty. Last month from down in Jiangnan, they sent over a copy of the Lanting Jishu. It is said to be from the hand of a famous Tang dynasty master, priceless. When my uncle saw it, he was so delighted that on the spot he he didn't continue, but when she had already heard everything he wanted to know, he sent the dead-drunk Wei Xiao back to the mansion. Then he turned around and disappeared into the night. The next day, a detailed secret report was placed on my desk. It recorded all of Wei Xiao's words and actions, as well as the origin of that copy of the Lanting Shu. The person who gave the gift was a provincial governor from the Jiangnan Weaving Bureau, and that governor was currently seeking a transfer back to the capital to enter the Ministry of Revenue. A clear chain of bribery emerged before my eyes. I looked at the secret report, a cold smile curling at the corner of my mouth. Shen Wenye, you dog, you really didn't disappoint me. Your bite is both fast and accurate. Imperial Uncle Wei Zheng is an old fox. He has been operating for years with deep roots. Throughout the court, his students and former subordinates are everywhere. With just a painting and calligraphy, there is no way to bring him down. At most, it would only wound him superficially. If you strike a snake and don't kill it, you'll suffer the consequences. I understand this principle well, so I didn't immediately present this secret report to Father Emperor. I am waiting for a better opportunity. Waiting for Shen Wenyi to dig out more fatal evidence for me. At the same time, the crisis at Jinghua Trading Company also began to show. Ever since I brought down the Prince of Chuizheng has regarded me as a thorn in his side, a thorn in his flesh. He doesn't dare to confront me head-on in court, so he is reaching his dirty hands toward my purse. Several important sources of goods for Jinghua Trading Company in the south are all starting to have problems. Either the suppliers suddenly back out, willing to pay high penalty fees just to terminate cooperation, or the transport fleets encounter river bandits en route with cargo looted clean. I know that behind all this, it is Wei Zheng playing tricks. He is using the Wei family's deeply entrenched influence in Jiangnan to economically strangle me, trying to nibble away at my foundation bit by bit. On this day, several major shareholders of Jinghua Trading Company gathered once again at my princess's residence. Their faces all carried anxiety and unease. Your Highness, if this continues, we probably won't be able to hold on much longer. Shopkeeper Qian said with worry. The raw silk from the south can't get through. Our brocade workshop has been shut down for 3 days. If we cut off supplies to the Northern Frontier Army, we won't be able to answer to General Shao. The others chimed in one after another. That is right, Your Highness. We must come up with a solution. The Wei family in Jiangnan is the local tyrant. We can't fight them. I looked at their anxious expressions, but my heart remained calm. I waved my hand, signaling them to be quiet. Everyone, please stay calm. If the route through Jiangnan doesn't work, we'll just take a different route, shopkeeper, Sunday asked in confusion. Take a different route, Your Highness? What do you mean? I walked to the map and pointed my finger toward the southwest direction of Great Xia, Shuzhong. I spoke a place name they never expected. The land of Shuzhong has been the home of silk since ancient times. The Shu brocade there is in no way inferior in quality to the raw silk from Jiangnan. It is just that because the mountain roads are rugged and transportation is inconvenient, it has never been able to be sold throughout the land. Why can't we go there and open up a new source of goods? My words made everyone's eyes light up, but immediately after, someone raised a new concern. Your Highness, the roads to Shu are difficult, more difficult than climbing to the blue sky. Transporting silk from Shuzhong to the capital city is a long journey that takes time and effort. The cost would probably be several times higher than from Jiangnan. I smiled. The cost is high because the roads are difficult to travel. But what if the roads were no longer difficult to travel? I looked at them and presented an even more shocking plan. This palace has decided to finance road construction in the name of Jinghua Trading Company. From the capital city, we'll build an official road directly to Shuzhong, a cement highway that can accommodate 8 horse carriages traveling side by side. Cement, it is my other secret weapon. It is a formula I found in a fragment of an ancient text. After repeated trials by the craftsmen, it has been successfully manufactured. Roads paved with it are flat and solid, far superior to dirt roads and stone-paved roads. This plan is too grand and too crazy. The merchants present were all shocked speechless by my ingenious idea. Build roads, that is something only the imperial court would do. A trading company wants to build a national highway running through north and south. This is simply a pipe dream. Your Highness, how much money would this cost? Shopkeeper Lai asked, stammering. A lot, I admitted frankly. So much that it might drain half of our Jinghua Trading Company's fortune. But everyone think about it once this road is completed. Shu brocade from Sichuan, well, salt from Bashu. Tea and medicinal herbs from the southwest can be transported out continuously, and our goods can also be transported in without obstruction. How much business opportunity does this contain? This is not just a road, but a broad avenue paved with gold. Moreover, I paused, my voice becoming low and powerful. Building roads is a great undertaking that benefits the present and profits future generations. Father Emperor will support me. The common people of the realm will also support me. Wei Zheng, he wants to cut off my source of wealth. I am going to establish right under his nose a golden trade route that no one can obstruct. The more he wants to suppress me, the stronger I will become. My words were filled with infinite persuasive power. The doubt and fear in the merchant's eyes gradually faded away. Replacing them were flames of excitement and fervor. It was as if they could already see countless gold and silver rolling in along that future thoroughfare. Your Highness is wise, shopkeeper. Chien was the first to step forward, bowing deeply to me. This old one is willing to devote his entire fortune to follow your Highness and create this unprecedented achievement together. We too are willing to follow your Highness. Everyone stood up. An economic stranglehold initiated by Wei Zheng was thus transformed by me into an unprecedented, magnificent commercial blueprint that night. I received a letter from Xiao Lai sent from the northern frontier. In the letter, besides the customary military reports, there was an additional line, "Heard there are petty troublemakers in the south. If your Highness needs assistance, the 100,000 cavalry of the northern frontier stand ready for battle." At the end of the letter, there was also an illustration. The illustration showed a plum blossom blooming proudly against wind and snow. The style was rough, yet the brushwork was vigorous. I knew this was him telling me, whatever decision I make, he will always be my strongest support. I held the letter up to the candlelight, watching that plum blossom turn to ash bit by bit in the flames. Yet a warm smile appeared at the corners of my mouth. Wei Zheng, you think you can trap me. You are wrong. My journey is to the stars and seas. The road construction plan was soon submitted to Father Emperor's desk. When I proposed that all expenses would be covered by Jinghua Trading Company and the princess's residence without needing a single coin from the national treasury, Father Emperor approved it without hesitation. He also issued an edict ordering the Ministry of Works and the prefectures along the route to provide full cooperation. For a time, all of Great Xia was in an uproar over my crazy decision. Supporters praised my foresight and devotion to the state. Opponents mocked me for overestimating myself and engaging in foolish fantasies. Uncle-in-law Wei Zheng was the first to stand up in opposition at court. He claimed this would exhaust the people and waste resources, inevitably shaking the foundation of the nation. However, when Father Emperor asked him whether the treasury was willing to pay for the road construction, he immediately shut his mouth. Everyone could see right through his little scheme. He just didn't want to see me achieve such an unprecedented accomplishment. But the more he opposed, the more resolute Father Emperor's support for me became. Wei Zheng could only leave in frustration in the end. He hadn't expected that the economic blockade he had carefully planned not only failed to trap me. Instead, it gave me a legitimate opportunity to expand my influence into the southwest. He lifted a rock only to drop it on his own foot. The road construction project began in full swing. I deployed an engineering unit from the Imperial Guards responsible for surveying and designing the route, and with extremely high wages, I recruited tens of thousands of workers from all over the country, the powerful financial resources of Jinghua Trading Company, along with my royal background, ensured that this unprecedented project could operate efficiently, and just when everyone's attention was drawn to this, Road to Shu, Shen Wenyi's investigation, also made new breakthrough progress. That day, late at night, dressed in night clothes, he silently infiltrated my study. He carried a faint scent of blood. On his face, there was also a shallow new scar. Master, he knelt on one knee, his voice suppressing excitement. I found it. I found Wei Zheng's most fatal crack. He took out from his chest a small ledger wrapped in oilcloth. What is this? I asked. This is the ledger from a private salt workshop the Wei family owns in Jiangnan. Shen Wenye's voice was trembling. Wei Zheng, he is not only trafficking official salt, he has also established a secret private salt workshop on an island in Lake Tai. Its scale and output are so large they rival the court's biggest salt fields. He sells this private salt through secret channels nationwide and even to the pirates at sea. With this, they reap enormous profits. This ledger clearly records every single transaction of their illegal salt trade over the past 5 years. My heart suddenly sank. Trafficking illegal salt was already a grave crime punishable by clan extermination. And he actually dared to sell illegal salt to the Wokou pirates. The Wokou were the greatest menace along the southeastern coast of our great Xia. They burned, killed, plundered, and committed every evil imaginable. The court had to spend enormous military funds every year to suppress them. Wei Zheng, as the emperor's brother-in-law and a first-rank official of the court, actually did such a thing as collaborating with the enemy and betraying the country for money. He was absolutely insane. How did you get this? I suppressed the rage in my heart and asked coldly. A hint of smug, sinister smile appeared on Shen Wenyi's face. The one responsible for managing this ledger is a distant steward of the Wei family. This person is greedy for money and lustful. I set a trap and made him rack up huge gambling debts, then used a stunning beauty to hook his soul. Last night I had him steal the ledger out. To prevent him from leaking secrets, I've already made him shut his mouth forever. He spoke of it lightly, but I could imagine what kind of conspiracy and bloodshed lay behind this. Shen Wenyi had completely turned into a vicious dog without feelings, only knowing how to execute orders. But I didn't care. What I care about is this ledger. It is the sharpest blade, sharp enough to uproot the Wei family completely. Well done. I took that heavy ledger from his hands. From now on, you temporarily leave the capital city. Go to Shu, help me keep an eye on the road construction. Without my orders, you are not allowed to return. Shen Wenyi froze for a moment. He seemed not to have expected that after he had achieved such great merit. I would actually send him away. A hint of unwillingness flashed through his eyes, but he dared not disobey my orders. Yes, master, he kowtowed respectfully, then silently retreated into the darkness. I sat alone under the lamp, repeatedly flipping through that sinful ledger, in my heart. An even bolder and more ruthless plan was slowly taking shape. Directly hand the ledger to Father Emperor. Number that would be too easy on Wei Zheng. What I want is not just to ruin his reputation and leave him with no burial place. What I want is the entire Wei family's wealth and power accumulated over hundreds of years. All of it completely and entirely to become mine. I want his crimes to be exposed in broad daylight at the most opportune moment in the most sensational way. I want him and the entire interest group behind him to all become the final wedding dress for me. I picked up my pen and wrote 2 letters. One was for Shaolai, who was far away at the northern frontier. The other was for the Marquis of Jinghai, who was currently in the southeast coast, responsible for eradicating the Woku pirates. In the letters, I only said one thing. The time to close the net has come. Southeast of Great Xia, Jinghai City, Xia winds blew over this ancient city all year round. What they brought was not the tranquility of fishing boats returning at dusk, but the briny stench of blood and an inescapable fear. The Woku pirates, like a pack of greedy hyenas, they occupied the East Sea. They appeared and vanished unpredictably, burning, killing and pillaging, committing every evil. They were a blade hanging over the heads of all coastal people. Marquis of Jinghai Li Chengfeng had been garrisoned in this city for 20 years. 20 years of time had tempered a spirited young general into a middle-aged man with graying temples. His face was carved full of hardship. In his eyes settled a wariness and resolve as deep as the ocean. He had fought countless battles, winning more than losing. But those Woku pirates were like seaweed in the ocean cut one crop. Another grows. They could never be completely exterminated. He knew the problem wasn't with his blade. It was with the imperial court. Military funds were always being embezzled. Warships were always patched and mended. Fine weapons could never reach the hands of his frontline soldiers. He also knew that the reason the Japanese pirates were so rampant was because someone behind the scenes was supplying them. There were great Sha merchants secretly selling them grain, iron tools, and even salt. These were all contraband materials banned by the court, but he had no evidence those smuggling merchant ships were as slippery as loaches. They could always vanish without a trace before he arrived. He had suspected many people. He had even suspected certain high-ranking court officials in positions of power, but he dared not investigate deeply. Without the emperor's decree, he, this sharp sword guarding the nation's borders, could not easily point toward the interior. On this day, he was in the commander's residence, worrying over a tattered sea chart. A personal guard delivered a letter from the capital city, from the princess's residence. On the envelope was stamped the golden seal of the nation-protecting elder princess. Li Chengfeng's brows furrowed slightly. Elder Princess Zhao Ningyue, he had heard her name, that legendary princess who was once crazy for love, then later used thunderous methods to depose her consort and bring down the Prince of Qi. He couldn't understand why such a noble person from the deep palace would write to him. He opened the letter on the letter paper. there were no pleasantries. Only a sea chart that was 100 times more detailed than the one in his hands. On the sea chart was clearly marked an unnamed island in the East Sea that he had never heard of. The location of the island was extremely secretive. Surrounding it were reefs and whirlpools everywhere, a natural hazardous terrain. And on that island, drawn with vermilion, was a large X mark. Next to the X, 2 characters were written. Bandit is nest. Below the sea chart, there was also a line of small characters, 10 days from now at noon. 15 Fuchuan ships will be fully loaded with smuggled salt and ironware, trading with the Woku pirates at this location. The fleet is escorted by the Wei family trading company, with the lead ship flying the Azure Dragon flag. Li Chengfeng's hand suddenly trembled. The sea chart slipped from his hand. In his eyes, monstrous waves surged. The Wei family. Imperial Uncle Wei Zheng's Wei family. He never would have dreamed that the imperial uncle who appeared so dignified and righteous in court, full of benevolence and morality, would actually be the greatest traitor behind it all. If this letter was real, then the weight it carried would be enough to turn the entire Great Xia upside down. But should he believe it? Believe a princess who was far away in the capital city, who had never set foot in the maritime frontier. Just as he was hesitating indecisively, he saw the back of the letter paper. There was another sentence there. If the Marquis trusts me after this battle, Jinghua Trading Company is willing to invest 3 million taels of silver to build 100 ironclad warships for the Coastal Pacification Navy. If you don't believe it, then throw this letter into the flames. The fate of the nation rests here, you decide for yourself. 100 ironclad warships. Li Chengfeng's breathing instantly became rapid. He knew of the Jinghua Trading Company, that commercial giant established single-handedly by the elder princess, wealthy enough to rival a nation. He also knew what kind of overwhelming power and influence the princess's residence now wielded. If she said it, she would definitely make it happen. This was a huge challenge and also an opportunity that could let him fulfill his lifelong aspiration, to completely wipe out the Japanese pirates from the Great Xia's territorial waters. The doubts in his heart vanished into thin air at this moment. He picked up the sea chart from the ground, his gaze becoming incredibly sharp. He had waited for this opportunity for far too long. Simone, he let out a furious roar toward the door. Pass on my general's order. Command the 3 chief commanders to come to the commander's residence for a meeting immediately. The entire army is to prepare, blockade the harbor. No one is permitted to go out to sea. Tell the soldiers to sharpen their blades in 10 days. We're going out to sea to slaughter a bunch of traitorous scum. His voice was filled with 20 years of suppressed rage and killing intent. Like a thunderclap, it exploded over Jinghai City. An unprecedented great battle was about to arrive. And what detonated all of this? Was merely an idle move made by a princess in the capital city. Sisters, I am seriously impressed by the female lead's move. Look, she didn't just hand the evidence directly to the emperor. Instead, she first sent intelligence to the Marquis of Jinghai, letting him catch them red-handed at sea with both the criminals and the evidence. This way, the chain of evidence is complete and Wei Zheng can't deny it even if he wants to. And get this, the female lead also dangled a huge carrot in front of the Marquis of Jinghai 3 million taels to build warships. Who could resist that? This is what you call killing 3 birds with 1 stone, eliminating Wei Zheng. A major threat, quelling the pirate rebellion and earning merit for the court, and winning over the Marquis of Jinghai, a general who commands significant military forces. TSK, TSK, TSK. This vision, this skill, all I can say is the female lead is amazing. But seriously, it was incredibly difficult for ancient women to play this kind of power game. One wrong step and they'd be accused of meddling in politics. For the female lead to achieve this level, she relied not only on wisdom but also on the power and prestige she accumulated step by step. What does this tell us? Money and power are what really matter. The capital city still presented a scene of flourishing prosperity. The launch of the Shu Road project injected new vitality into this ancient capital. Countless wealth and opportunities attracted people flooding in from all directions. In tea houses and taverns, the storytellers had 2 favorite tales. Onen was the princess's night vigil at the hero's shrine, which spoke of my benevolence and righteousness. The other one is Princess's promise to build the Shu Road, which tells of my boldness. My name, Zhao Ningyue, has almost become deified in the hearts of the capital city's people. My reputation is at its peak, and the instigator of all this, the imperial uncle Wei Zheng, can only stay in his mansion right now, sulking. He watches helplessly as my power, like a snowball, grows bigger and bigger yet. He is powerless to do anything. He doesn't dare to make a move against me easily anymore, because he knows that I am no longer an opponent he can manipulate at will. Every confrontation only makes him lose more miserably. He chose to lie low, like a viper, lurking in the shadows, waiting for me to show a weakness. But he doesn't know. I've already prepared for him a dragnet. On this day, I summoned someone Vice Minister of Justice, Zhou Zheng, a 5th rank official who is obscure in the bureaucracy. He is upright and doesn't know how to be flexible. Therefore, after 10 years in the Ministry of Justice, he is still just a vice minister. Everyone knows his official career has reached its end, but he has a secret unknown to others. His father was once a high-ranking official in the Ministry of Justice too. 10 years ago, because he investigated a corruption case, he offended Wei Zheng, who was only the Minister of Personnel at the time. In the end, he was framed by Wei Zheng and met the fate of committing suicide out of fear of punishment. Zhou Zheng has always wanted to avenge his father, but he was insignificant with little influence. The Wei family, on the other hand, was overwhelmingly powerful. He could only bury his hatred deep in his heart. When he received the invitation from the princess's residence, he thought he had seen it wrong. It wasn't until he walked into my study with an uneasy heart and saw that woman sitting upright in the seat of honor, graceful and bearing yet with eyes sharp as knives, that he was certain all of this was real. "Minister Zhou, please sit." I gestured for him to sit down and personally poured him a cup of tea. Zhou Zheng was overwhelmed by the favor and hastily stood up to bow. "Your Highness, this humble subject is unworthy of such honor." I smiled, "Minister Zhou. No need for such formality. I've asked you here today because I want to discuss a case with you." Zhou Zheng's heart skipped a beat. "May I ask your Highness, which case are you referring to?" I didn't answer directly. Instead, I took out an old case file from the drawer of my desk and gently pushed it in front of him. 10 years ago, the case of Minister of Justice Zhou Yan, who embezzled and took bribes, then took his own life out of fear of punishment. Zhou Zheng's body trembled violently. He suddenly looked up, his eyes full of bloodshot and disbelief. "Your Highness, I know that your late father was wronged." My voice was very calm. Yet, it struck Zhou Zheng's heart like a heavy hammer. He could no longer control his emotions, and with a thud, he fell to his knees. Tears burst forth from his eyes. Your Highness, please see clearly. My father lived a life of integrity, honest and upright. He could never have committed such crimes of corruption and perversion of justice. He was framed, he was hounded to death by that old scoundrel Wei Zheng. 10 years of grievance and hatred erupted completely at this moment. Like a helpless child, he wailed and sobbed before me. I didn't help him up, just quietly waited for him to finish crying. "Get up." When his crying gradually subsided, I finally spoke slowly. "This palace knows you are a filial son, and knows that all these years you've been secretly gathering evidence of Wei Zheng's crimes. It is just a pity that your official rank is too low. What you can access is only superficial stuff. It poses no threat at all to that old fox." Zhou Zheng wiped away his tears and raised his head. In his eyes burned the flames of vengeance. "Please enlighten me. Your Highness, as long as I can avenge my father and clear his name, this humble subject is willing to serve your Highness like an ox or horse, even unto 10,000 deaths." This was exactly the words I was waiting for. I stood up and walked before him. I helped him to his feet. "This palace can give you an opportunity. An opportunity for you to personally send Wei Zheng to the guillotine." I took out a small silken pouch from my sleeve and placed it in his hands. "Inside here is what you need. After you return, do nothing. Just wait patiently. Within 10 days, there will be great changes in the court. When that time comes, open the silken pouch and follow the instructions inside to do what you must do. Do you understand?" Zhou Zheng gripped the silken pouch tightly as if holding the weight of the entire world. He looked at me and nodded heavily. "This subject understands. This subject will absolutely not fail your Highness's trust." He turned and strode away. That originally somewhat hunched figure became incredibly upright in this moment. I watched him disappear at the doorway. Qingyuan walked out from behind the screen. "Your Highness, you trust him that much. What if he—" I shook my head. "A person who has been sustained by hatred for 10 years will not easily betray." He is the last arrow I am shooting at Wei Zheng, and also the most lethal one. Just at this moment, the steward from outside the residence came hurriedly to report. Your Highness, urgent report from the northern frontier. General Shao has clashed with the barbarian tribes at the border. Both sides have deployed 100,000 troops, and a great battle is about to break out. After hearing this, a meaningful smile appeared on my face. Shao Lai of mine truly didn't disappoint me. He used what seemed like a critical border conflict to successfully draw all the court's attention, and created the perfect opportunity for Li Chengfeng, far away in the southeast, to make his move east, south, north, all. 3 chess pieces are now in position. Next, it is time for me, the one who moves the pieces, to make the final checkmate in the capital city. Wei Zheng, your time has come. 10 days later, Taihe Hall. The atmosphere at morning court was somewhat heavy. All the ministers were discussing the war situation at the northern frontier. Shao Lai and the barbarian Khan were in a standoff at the border, both sides on edge, as if a great battle could erupt at any moment. The Minister of Revenue was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, lamenting that the treasury was empty and unable to support a large-scale war. The Minister of War, on the other hand, was making an impassioned speech, strongly advocating for reinforcements to the northern frontier to completely wipe out the barbarian tribes. Father Emperor sat on the dragon throne, his brows tightly furrowed, saying nothing. Imperial Uncle Wei Zheng stood at the head of all officials, calm and composed, eyes on nose. Nose on heart. War at the northern frontier was a good thing for him. War meant consumption. As long as the money I invested in the Shu Road was continuously diverted to fill the bottomless pit of the northern frontier, my Jinghua Trading Company will be dragged down sooner or later. So he even secretly fanned the flames, inciting those hawkish officials to pressure Father Emperor. In the imperial court, everyone was arguing loudly, and I, from beginning to end, just stood there in place, not saying a word, as if the war in the northern frontier had nothing to do with me, just as everyone was arguing endlessly. Outside the hall, suddenly came a burst of urgent hoofbeats approaching from afar, and the eunuch's shrill announcement. 800 Li urgent dispatch from the East Sea. Everyone was stunned. The entire hall instantly fell silent. East Sea. What earth-shattering event could happen in this corner, long forgotten by the court? A messenger clad in light armor, soaked through, face full of exhaustion, stumbled and rushed in. He didn't even have time to bow before dropping to his knees with a thud, using all his strength to roar. Reporting to your majesty. Marquis Jinghai Li Chengfeng 3 days ago led the Jinghai army in a decisive battle against the main force of Japanese pirates at Blackstone Island in the East Sea. A great victory. In this battle, over 3,000 enemies were annihilated, nearly 10,000 captured. 120 pirate warships of all sizes were sunk. Furthermore, the pirates' stronghold of many years, Blackstone Island, was destroyed in one fell swoop. From this day forth, the East Sea pirate scourge that plagued our great Xia for 100 years has been pacified once and for all. The messenger's voice echoed through the empty great hall. Each word was like a clap of thunder exploding beside everyone's ears. After a brief, deathly silence, the entire court completely erupted. What? The Woku menace has been quelled. Heaven blesses our great Xia. Heaven blesses our great Xia. Marquis Li is truly a famous general of our time. Countless officials were so moved that tears filled their eyes. Father Emperor even shot up from the dragon throne, his face filled with unbelievable wild joy. Good, Li Chengfeng. I was not wrong about you. He paced back and forth excitedly in the great hall, while Wei Zheng, standing in the crowd, had a face that was slightly pale. An ominous premonition surged in his heart, sure enough. That messenger took out from his chest another wooden box wrapped in oilcloth, held it high above his head. Your Majesty, in this battle, our army also seized ironclad evidence of collusion between the Woku and treacherous merchants of our dynasty. These are account books and some stolen goods searched out from the Woku's lair. Please, Your Majesty, issue a decree to severely punish the national traitors. A eunuch hurriedly presented the wooden box. Father Emperor opened the wooden box. Inside was a thick ledger and several salt bricks branded with Wei Family Salt Company. The Emperor's face instantly darkened. He opened the account book. After looking at just a few pages, his hands began to tremble uncontrollably. He suddenly raised his head. his eyes filled with rage like two sharp swords piercing straight into Wei Zheng. Wei Zheng's body felt as if struck by lightning. With a thud, he fell to his knees. "Your Majesty, I've been wronged. This is a frame-up. Someone is trying to frame this old subject." While kowtowing, he used the corner of his eyes to seek help from the officials who were usually on good terms with him, but at this moment those people all distanced themselves from him as if avoiding a plague. "Are you kidding, colluding with the enemy in treason? This is a grave crime that would exterminate 9 generations. Who would dare speak up for him at a time like this?" Just as Wei Zheng was unable to defend himself, a slender figure slowly stepped out from the formation. It was Zhou Zheng, the Vice Minister of Justice. He held his jade tablet, his face grave as water. "Reporting to your Majesty. This subject has a memorial to present. This subject wishes to impeach the current imperial uncle, the first-rank treacherous minister, Wei Zheng. His crimes are threefold." His voice was not loud, yet it clearly reached everyone's ears. His first crime: forming cliques for personal gain, selling official positions. This is the bribery ledger the subject confiscated from his nephew Wei Shao. He presented a ledger. His second crime: illegally operating salt fields, embezzling state profits. This is the internal account book of the Wei family's private salt workshop. He presented another ledger. His third crime: colluding with enemies and betraying the nation, funding the Woku pirates. This crime corroborates with the evidence presented by the Marquis of Jinghai ironclad proof. With each statement Zhou Zheng made, Wei Zheng's face turned a shade paler. When he finished listing the 3 crimes, Wei Zheng had completely collapsed to the ground, his face ashen as death. All his desperate excuses seemed so pale and powerless before this mountain of ironclad evidence. He was finished. The entire Wei family was finished. He raised his head, staring at me with those eyes full of venomous hatred. He finally understood. All of this was a trap, a grand scheme that had been set in motion from the day I was granted marriage to Xiao Lai, and he was merely a pitiful prey in this trap, walking right into the net. "Zhao Ningyue," he let out a desperate, anguished roar. "How vicious your heart is, Father Emperor's fury." At this moment also erupted completely. He violently hurled the ledger in his hand at Wei Zheng's face. "Guards, drag this parasite of the nation away. Relay my decree. The entire Wei clan, execute them all. Leave not a single one. All officials involved in the case, without exception, are to be stripped of their positions and investigated. Severe punishment with no leniency." Father Emperor's furious roar echoed throughout the entire Taihe Hall. The Yulin guards charged in like wolves and tigers. They dragged Wei Zheng, who had gone limp as mud, out like dragging a dead dog. The Wei clan, which once held overwhelming power over the court, just like that, before my very eyes came crashing down. I stood there meeting the eyes of all the civil and military officials, eyes filled with awe, even fear. My face showed no expression whatsoever. I knew from this day forward, in this great Sha imperial court, no one would dare stand against me anymore, and my gaze had already moved beyond this magnificent palace, toward that even vaster realm, the world itself. Extermination of the entire clan official meaning. Extermination of the entire clan was one of the most severe punishments in ancient China, referring to the execution of the criminal along with their entire family, young and old, while simultaneously confiscating all their property. This punishment was typically used for the most unforgivable crimes such as treason and rebellion. According to Ming and Qing dynasty laws, the scope of entire family usually included the criminal's parents, siblings, spouse, and children, and even collateral relatives in severe cases. It could implicate the 9 familial exterminations, 4 degrees of paternal relations, 3 degrees of maternal relations, and 2 degrees of spousal relations. All confiscated property was turned over to the state treasury, making it the most intimidating punitive measure against the privileged class. Jade's take, to put it bluntly, it is the ultimate package of one person commits a crime. The whole family gets buried with them, plus all family assets confiscated. Ancient emperors really were ruthless with this move. Not only taking your life, but also cutting off your roots, making your family completely disappear from history.